Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal You. This is Ryan Singer, your host. If this is the first time you're listening, I recommend you go back and listen to at least, I think it's experience 389. Because I have Mario Creston here with me. Mario, my guy, my dude, what's up?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Good. My cat man, my bird man. You're my cat bird man. I mean, I love it because I always say, oh, I got a cat bird seat. Like when you get a good seat, it's a colloquialism from the Midwest, but like if you get a good parking spot, it's a cat bird spot. People are always like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, it's just no, it means good. But cats and birds. Well, I'm trying to remember. Um, God, it was it was obviously before 389, but there's been a couple different episodes. So because we're just gonna kind of pick up the narrative where we left off to a certain degree, and then we'll go over some stuff because I really do want to get into poster magic more. And I haven't been able to really wrap my brain around everything that we've been communicating about with lately. So I hope you'll walk me through some of that as well. And because there is an ongoing narrative here and there's a lot of interconnected pieces, synchronicities. um, this is all like, especially for listeners who might be in the world, or familiar enough with the show to understand some of the other people that are involved. I'd recommend going back and listening to any, if you want the full picture. Maybe I should just bunch all of these together into like a series. And whether it's Abigail Moss interview, whether it's Jessica and Oscar, whether it's my interview with Adam Fleischer, um, lots of stuff going on. So oh, also I want to let everybody know, I was looking back. I was at your house when I got the release notice for the Supernatural, the comedy special.
Yeah, we were sitting
um
there and you said it right. I watched you get it and you told me right away. Very
yeah,
exciting.
yeah, so that was fun. So that was about that was in it was in October of last year. That was when that we I was working up in those parts, and we did an interview. But so let's set the stage for people listening here and just kind of get a recap on this idea of what poster magic, what it's meaning to you. Not necessarily the specifics of how it came about necessarily, but if you could maybe explain to me this idea of how you use posters, or how posters are informing you or communicating with you. I think, and obviously we can get into some specific details because those are important, but because when we first talked about this last October 22, I was it seemed very like, this is not something I'm familiar with at the time, right? Like it seemed like kind of new frontier for me.
So I just kind of flippantly named it that, and I've been having a lot of different experiences that I would call magic. And like, okay, for instance, I told a story about a magic dress on your show. So, even though again, this stuff is all new to me. I'm kind of just a listener. I've bought the ticket and I'm taking the ride of the Me and Paranormal U universe. But
By the way, real quick, I sorry to interrupt you. I cannot stop listening to Billy Strings.
everybody loves
My
it.
my last girlfriend, big fan of Billy Strings. So we would every once in a while we'd listen to Billy Strings, but because she played the banjo, all kinds of, and she was like really gifted in music. Um, but I've like really gotten lost on the mountain with Billy Strings in his the last month or month and a half, and holy shit. By the way, I mean, of course, I mean, yeah. So that story, like that you told retroactively to me, has much more depth now that I'm so much more familiar with the music of Billy, and understanding that moment, and like the wook that was there with the
Yeah.
like, and just the jam, just the nature of the whole vibe of the scene. um Anyway, but it like it clicked for me, like in a way that it hadn't previously, because I'm just like, oh yeah, this is like this. If there's ever a concert to go to where everybody should just be just having a free flowing, loving fucking good time, right? It's He's one of them.
So what's interesting though about that whole story is um my whole trip about Billy Strings really wasn't about Billy Strings or the music. The trip that I've been telling you about, and why I do love his music now because I went to the show and loved it. But really the thing for me was when my friends tried to get me to go to that show, I said, no, I'm not going to that show, you know. And then, they're on me about going. And then um I saw the concert poster, or like the tour promo art, is when I saw it, and I looked and I saw it had like the three godheads, like Atlantis bearded men heads on it, right? And then I looked up at the poster on my wall that was right above my friends talking to me, which is like lions and tigers, like orange cats, oddly enough. And it had like a three-headed kind of figure, and it looked exactly like that Billy String stuff. So that's when I'm like, okay, uh-oh. The synchronicity started hitting, and I'm telling them no, but then that synchronicity hit. I saw the art from the Billy Strings match the poster that was above their head, and then Billy Strings had the Primus shirt, and then that's when I'm like, oh, I gotta go. And
I have
basically,
to, yeah, I have to go to this
I have
concert.
to go to the show. Something weird, something's up with this whole deal, right? So that's when I agreed to go. And then, the week went on, and that's when I showed up at my friend's house, and for some reason he handed me a dress. And then, the whole thing happened where we went to the show, and I wore a dress to the show. And then Billy Strings came out wearing a dress, and it was just an unbelievable experience. Again, I don't wear dresses necessarily normally. So the first time I ever wear a dress happens to be the same day Billy Strings wears a dress for the first time. And, it just felt as if I was a magician, and all the things that Oscar and Jessica told me in that session that week before we went, it all correlated, and it was just a wild experience. So that was really why, at first that was my trip about Billy Strings, with the whole experience of, to me it felt like I was, David Copperfield or Houdini type scenario of, why am I wearing this dress? Why did we pick the same day? Yeah, the Wook saying, I see you got the memo. And I'm saying, I did, and I know a guy. So I fully believed, and I still do, that was all some kind of, elaborate prank and joke and, enlightening experience that was set up by what I believe is Oscar, whether it's the collective unconscious or whatever. I just do happen to be, my full alias is Oscar Mario Creston. Like we call myself Mario now, but I did come on your show as Oscar. So I still believe, Jessica's the one who hooked me up. I worked with her and connected me with Oscar. So to me, I call it Oscar. Again, we could call it whatever you want, Spirit or whatever. But to me, I believe it's this Oscar, especially due to the humor of it. There's a certain strain of humor to all of it. And actually, um, all of this stuff that I want to talk to you about right now is just brand new, hot off the presses stuff. None of this has occurred. We agreed to do this show a long time ago. You asked me to come back on a while ago, before any of this stuff happened. And then I was listening to it. Was an older third year bonus that you had done the other day. I was listening to it on my way home from work. I parked my car, went inside, and the next morning I woke up and got in my car, and it's like the morning, and I hate going to work, and the morning sucks. Like, I'm not feeling hot, right? I get in the car and I fired up. 2 seconds later, you're talking about my friend Mario. You go right into talking about me, like referring to me on this show, because you were talking about your experience, you and Eric from the Epic Paranormal, with his gateway box playing the David Bowie
Space
Space
Oddity.
Oddity. and the fact that you had the birds going insane with you and everything. And I heard that, and I'm like, and then I had contacted you and saying, hey, just so you know, I'm sure you're probably using the same laptop, and like all the, you were at my house, and my since the day I moved here, I turned my Wi-Fi to ground control to Major Tom as the name of my Wi-Fi,
That's
right?
right.
And I've been on your show since before we met Jessica and Oscar, a year before that, talking about weird bird encounters. So I hear you having this, like, yeah, exactly. Like, welcome to my world, pal. Like, I've, I've totally been on a trip, and I've been digging in to this, you and Eric's narrative, right? So, I heard that, so I got excited, and in my mind, I was really trying to I was setting the intention, because now I am getting to the point to where I am setting certain intentions. I am making specified areas for synchronicity to show up. Okay, like I have certain areas that I'm looking for things to happen, and and a lot of and it seems to produce, right? So I also heard, so what was it that happened? Let me look at my notes here. As far as um one second.
I'm going to make a note of that. That's an interesting um that's a really interesting concept. Setting specified areas for synchronicities to occur, like creating space, which is a term, often used in spiritual practice, whether it's meditation or magic or even, doing it almost rings a little bit of the psychedelic, set and setting to me as well. It all seems somewhat related when you're creating a space, making space available, or whether it's just for another person, right? To Because when you make space for someone, then they feel more comfortable presenting or sharing or just being vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is interesting, making specified space for synchronicity is a pretty cool concept.
So let me actually, let me read you something real quick, because I talked to you about it. And again, I'm going by is I'm actually not trying to, I'm trying to do my own thing. Okay. I'm reading this, and I'm only taking a little bit. I don't know exactly what synchro mysticism is. Okay. I mean, I'm not an expert. Okay. I'm just a listener of the show, right? So uh, I'm no expert on anything. But the closest thing that I could look up to what I think I kind of have going on is this synchro mysticism, is a practice of attributing mystical or esoteric significance to mundane coincidences. That hit home with me, right? So then synchro mysticism within chaos magic. Chaos magic is a contemporary magical practice consisting of techniques, most frequently entering into an altered state of consciousness and manipulating symbols to attain objective results in physical reality. All magical paradigms partake of some form of action at a distance, be it distance in space or time or both. In magic, this is called synchronicity. A mental event, perception, or an act of will occurs at the same time as an event in the material world. Of course, this can always be excused as coincidence, but most magicians would be quite content with being able to arrange coincidences. So that I also really like.
Yeah, the
So
idea of being able to arrange coincidence is you're manipulating space time and meaning, and that's fucking magic.
so I had your narrative with your communication, your current work that you're doing, communicating with the gateway tool and communicating with Alien on Mount Shasta, right? Where that one happened with the David Bowie and everything.
Yeah.
So I've been having that in my mind. I've been really thinking about it. Okay, and I set some kind of a intention to kind of dig into that, right? Because I knew the show was coming up and everything. I'm looking for new material, right? So Friday is Friday. I'm at work, and this is exactly textbook how the poster magic thing to me works. Is sometimes it's not only is it okay, like the instance with my cat Chili. was a concert that I went to before I got the cat and a concert I went to after I got the cat. Both of these posters are cats. That's basically my cat on the poster. Okay. So to me, that's like, you know what I mean? Like I go to a show, cat poster. Next thing you know, this cat's showing up in my life. He's mine. Go to the poster, go to the next show. It's also a poster that basically depicts him now as my king, like living in my house well fed and everything. So not only are these posters, am I getting readings from them? Sometimes they're in hindsight, sometimes it's before. But in this instance, on Friday, um, this told the future. Okay. And not only did it tell the future, but it depicts the exact scene that occurred that day. Okay. And then my research since then, this has happened. I'm going to tell you right now. So, and this is how it always comes up, and it always seems to be a Les Claypool project, right? So, and this now is a band called the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade, and he has Sean Lennon with him, and also Harry Waters, which is Roger Waters' son, and Sean Lennon is also obviously John Lennon's son, the Beatles of Beatles fame. So I see this poster posted on Instagram, and the artist's Instagram page, by the way, is called Epic Problems. Epic Problems, right? So I look at this poster, and it's a like a buzzard or a vulture or a raven or whatever you want, standing on a road right at the paint line of the road of pavement and grass, and he's like biting at some kind of weird goo or something that might be like a squash frog, and he has some kind of crazy crown on of like thorns or like, you know, like twigs or something. And as soon as I saw that, I go, oh boy, I had the gut feeling, I had the intuition. I go, oh boy, here we go.
Oh boy.
This is
Oh
going
boy.
down. Like something's happening from this. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. So I sent you this art because dude, I'm not just sending this shit to you to be like, oh, listen to this cool song. No, I'm sending you that song for a reason. I do actually want you to listen to these songs now because I think they're powerful spells. Because there is a soundtrack to element to this whole entire thing as well. And I do listen to songs multiple times. I think there's something up with that. I do get into that kind of trance when I listen to certain songs, and I will play them over and over, and I kind of set intentions, and there's something to do with that too, I believe. But moral story with this poster is it's got a bird, and as soon as I saw that bird, I go, this is the bird narrative that Eric, and you know, like you had the bird messing with you while you're doing your investigation. I go, I pictured that bird, and I pictured when I was with Jessica at Electric Forest, and we walked onto the beach, and she told me, don't do anything, you know, Mario, to blow your heart up tonight. And that's when two huge vultures swooped us, flew all around, made a big show of it. And I go, what was that? She goes, vultures. Take it as the omen as it is. So as soon as I saw this poster, I imagined that. And I kind of imagined that crown on my head kind of too, that this bird is wearing. And it's like, I imagine kind of these vultures flying around, and you know, like I imagined it, right? So the day goes by, I get all, you know, the work ends, so I get in my car and I pull out of the driveway of my office, and it's still within the facility where I work. I turn on some Phil Collins.
I'm just
Yep,
gonna hold this up to the
yep,
camera real quick. This
that's it.
is
I pull
the
right there. I crank up some Phil Collins because I've set that as being some kind of a magic spell or a synchronicity bait that I've been using. Certain songs I've been, you know, putting out there as kind of sync baits, but I'm like not paying attention to what's going on. I'm in the car ready to get the hell out of there. I pull on the road, I look over, there's like 20, 25 vultures right next to the road staring at me like it's like, you know, they look like, you know, 20 devil's garbage disposals staring at me, licking their chops. I'm like, what the fuck? And like the president of the company was behind me, and I'm not supposed to take pictures. So I kept driving. Like if I would have got the video of it right when it happened, you would see how crazy it was. Like it was not normal. I see lots of birds, okay, but when's the last time you saw 25 volt? You know, like it was a lots of vultures right there, standing, staring at me. I went and washed my truck. I turned around, came back. There was still a bunch there, but they had spread out. And you know, I got your evidence. You know, I took, you know, a little video of them. You know, a little sneaky video right there, and I got them, and I knew. I'm like, I imagined it in my head. It's like my order, my vulture order came through. Okay. Honest to
your
God.
vulture order. Yeah, this is okay. So this is so what we're seeing is a result of making specified space for synchronicity and pulling the thread, right?
So then the artist also posted, I forget when it was later, it was way later, that he posted like a variant to where instead of it being green, it's like purple. And as soon as I looked at the poster, I go, when I could see it being purple, I go, that bird standing on a road with the white paint line, the whole 9 yards, the grass, the way everything was. It's this exact scene that I ran into when I left work. It's, so then it also, the caption says, the buzzards of Green Hill are stuck on the cosmic highway. Okay. Well, they're standing on a green hill. And okay, I can't say nothing about this really because it is an occult facility by definition, and what goes on there is hidden and is occult, and I can't talk about it. The facility where this happening is a cosmic highway. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It literally is a cosmic highway. Put it that way. That's the most I'm going to say about what this place is. Okay, but cosmic highway, and that is also a great song, and I think I might recite it to you. But I'm like, this poster showed exactly the scene that I just experienced. And if you look at it, Ryan, and I've showed you, the pictures, the comparison, my little Joker's notes, little graphs that I do, that's exactly what it is. How much closer could it be than they were standing right there on the road and everything, right? So then, and this is to me is the answer to your space oddity. So I go, oh boy, here we go, cosmic highway, of course. So okay, the message from Spirit, as far as I'm concerned, or Oscar, or as far as I'm concerned, it might be the same exact thing you're communicating with. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. The way things are going to me, I don't think I need to go to Mount Shasta. I think you need to come over here and just, investigate me. Okay. So this is the song Cosmic Highway. We're on a cosmic highway to the moon. The bays are loaded and the engine's well in tune. Dad says at this rate, we should get there half past June. The earth is rather dreary since we singed the sky on the cosmic highway to the moon. Sensing arrival to be relatively soon. Gaze out of the window to the surface of the moon. The earth is rather dreary since we singed the sky on the cosmic highway to the moon. And it's okay. A thousand tiny voices softly say, do you want to go? Do you want to go on the cosmic highway to the moon? To the moon. This trip we're taking has only just begun. Had to leave the moon because we used up all the fun. The moon is rather dreary since we singed our mind on the cosmic highway to the sun. But it's okay. A thousand tiny voices softly say, and it goes on and on and on. But guess what that is? What's the difference? This is to me a commentary on your investigation, Ryan. So to me, this is poster magic. I actually, let's just stop me saying this weird shit. I got swooped by 25 vultures, dude. When's the last time? I mean, like people call in. Did you get swooped by vulture today? No, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. Why is this right? And
Yeah,
again, the
well,
poster.
real quick.
Yeah,
Cosmic Highway. This song is by who?
it's Les Claypool and the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade, who
Okay.
that's an old song, but they're on tour again. He's now has Sean Lennon in the band,
Okay,
which is
got it,
going to
got it,
tie
got
in
it.
later.
So just trying so this is an older song.
This is older
Um
song, yes.
and the poster is kind of, or at least the artist with the variant is kind of referencing that aspect or that song, right?
That song
And
in the description of like when he posted the variant, he put that little because Buzzards of Green Hill is another Frog Brigade song, and the buzzards were on the Green Hill, and I was there, and like
on the
dude,
Cosmic Highway, as you
on the
say.
Cosmic
And
Highway, right? It's all there. So
well, it's really interesting, just how many like ding ding dings are happening. Um it's I've got other ideas popping in my brain as well, from that are just this conversation is making me think about things like, oh, I wonder if this could be connected as well. And some other things like I have a friend who kind of lives, or it's basically she lives in Green Hill. It is the name of the place. You know, she's a real magical being.
Yeah, he's talking
Um,
about somewhere in California.
um, well, yeah, this I'm thinking of a Green Hill that's not in California, but the
Okay.
but I mean, at this point, it's just like it doesn't even matter where it is, right? I mean, as long as it leads to the right thing you're supposed to get to, or
Oh,
the
right,
person, or the
right.
idea, or the next piece of the puzzle potentially. But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying things that are popping, associations that are popping into my mind. So let's pause real quick because I'm gonna throw in some commercials right here. I don't know
Okay.
how long we've been talking, but it's probably time for a quick commercial break. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. That's $3 a month. You get commercial free interviews. You know, you get the flow without the selling. So go check that out, and plus other things. So that is patreon.com/Ryan Singer. We'll be right back with my buddy Mario Crescent. We're talking about poster magic. We're talking about synchronicities. We're talking about um we're just talking about things, the magic of life and setting specified space for synchronicities.
Can I tell you one last kicker? The kicker about this last poster thing. Again, this is just Friday. So again, I said the artist's Instagram page is called Epic Problems. Well, then I am going to search it and it comes up Eric.paranormal or Epic. I'm sorry, Epic Problems and Epic Paranormal. Your buddy's Instagram is Epic Paranormal.
Yeah.
So okay, boom. To
Yeah,
me,
that's
I thought that was significant, in my opinion.
well, it's significant because it just reinforces connection, right? Is does that seem to be like part of it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it connects. It's a commentary that it connects to you guys, and the message I'm trying to tell you is you guys are in the right path. And I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, because I think that's, because some people might be listening and being like, okay, so what's the answer? And it's like, well, okay, well, that's wah wah wah. That's getting a little too that's getting too ahead of ourselves. I think, and that's a permanent statement because, will the answer ever be revealed? That's something that I think is very unlikely. But along the way, and staying on the right path and staying on this journey, these synchronicities are letting us know that, we are on the right path potentially, or if nothing else, we are living a life that is providing joy, fun, excitement, interest, and wonder, right? And magic. And maybe that's the purpose of being alive, is to fully experience the magic and the wonder of being alive simply. Maybe that's it, right? And so these synchronicities are just reminders that, hey, you're doing a you're doing a pretty good job of, trying to live your life. Um and it's one of these things too where, these physical forms we got, we don't have to talk about this on air, but I mean, we know that they don't last forever. And whether it's, friends of ours that we know, or just loved ones in our life that we've lost already. So the point is, I think, I don't know what the point is, but it is interesting for me to think about that these synchronicities, and this is just something that's occurring to me as we're talking right now. um they're just like reminders, like, hey, you're doing a decent job right now of trying to just enjoy this experience while you're here. And maybe that's all we can hope for, right?
So to speak on exactly what you're talking about, I also have some newer thing that just happened. And like you mentioned Adam earlier, and I actually gotten to know him as well. He's he produces Jessica's podcast, and he's a good friend with her, and he's friends with you. He's been on your show, and I got to know him. And he did a lot of work when I was on her show of doing the editing and whatnot. And we became friends, and we video chatted, and we chatted a bunch with him and everything. And I got on a call with him yesterday because I wanted to talk to him about something before I talk to you. And like, okay, so this to me, this is his narrative and whatever, and I think he wouldn't mind telling you one day, but he gave me permission to talk about it because to me it's one of the most significant synchronicities of this whole entire thing, especially if I'm talking about poster magic. Okay, so Adam has in his family, it's been around his entire life. Okay, this certain item, okay, that was at a house and it was at his mom's house, and it there was a flood, and it's a lot of stuff got damaged, but this survived the flood. And his mother gave it to him, and he took it home, and it was, he didn't really know. He thought it was his mom's, right? But he left it at his house and like had it down the bottom of his stairs, and he didn't really understand the significance of it yet. And then like fast forward all the way to 2000 or 2021, where he's already working with Jessica and Oscar. Me and him are already friends, and have talked and everything. And he's working with Oscar again. He believes he has his own relationship with Oscar, just such as I do. And suddenly he felt a call to take this item and look into it. Okay, well, guess what it was? Adam is the ultimate poster magic example. It was a Beatles poster from 1966. He decides he wants to look into it. He finds out from his mom that wasn't hers, that was in fact his father's, who his father passed away when he was 2 years old. And this poster's been in his house, his life the entire time. He finally decides he wants to get it out and like frame it and stuff and look into it. He looks into it, and Ryan, guess what? It's the all-time holy grail of all holy grails. It's basically one of the most valuable rock and roll memorabilia items, or just memorabilia items, period. Okay, he comes to find out. He didn't know that. He looks up and he calls this auction place, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that. Oh wow," because they're kind of trying to blow him off at first because everybody thinks they got a '66 Shea Stadium Beatles poster they're trying to sell you, right? I mean, everyone's making fakes and everything, and the guy looks at it, he goes, "Oh no, that looks real." So he made arrangements, and he put it up, and it basically broke records or tied a record for the all-time most money you got paid for a poster at that time. Since then, that same the same poster has gone for even more, but it was a significant amount of money. So to me, I'm like, and I didn't find this out until later. I heard him tell Jessica on her podcast, and then he told me finally. I'm like, what, dude? I'm sitting here talking about Oscar showed me how to do poster. I'm dealing with Oscar, and suddenly those poster magic's happening, and I go, well, you had the same thing, and not only it's like a world record breaking poster
That
magic.
is interesting because that was one of the things we bonded over when I met him and his wife, and about collectibles and things like that. And because I remember he was walking, we were obviously in touch during that process, and then what it turned out to be, and then the fact that I think you sent me the link to the article. It's like the thing that it's like the poster that's referenced by like news articles when they're talking about the explosion of the collectibles market. It's like the poster he sold at auction is like
So
the reference.
okay, I'm not going to really go into the deep significance of that article, but I'll explain it briefly. Is It was an article about Zoltron, who is like an anonymous artist, and you don't know what he looks like. At least I don't. People might, but I don't. But he's been behind like the artwork for Primus for years, and he's the one that started saying, "Hey, let's curate posters for every show. We'll have a different artist make a poster for each individual show." And he's the one who really started that, and it was Primus, to where you got to go to that show and you got to get that poster, to where the poster market, like the whole article says this about, how this Zoltron helped the poster market come up. And to me, it's some kind of magic trick. It's like with the magic I got going on with these Primus posters, he's obviously a suspect, like, right. And I've already been telling people this. And I read that article, I go, once I finally was smarting up, I think I saw the article before I was smarting up about Adam's poster situation. And then I read it again. I'm like, that's him. So then again, you have all these people I'm suspected of somehow having to do with the poster magic, at least the artists themselves, the band, and then you got Adam. They're talking about him right in there, and okay, and luckily for him, he then experienced shortly thereafter a need. He has some terminal medical problems. Okay, and he shortly after that poster sold, he found out that he needed to have these treatments, and he, needed to have comfort. And luckily that has provided that for him and his wife, to where he could have treatments done, and he could he could go on. He went to Colombia with Jessica to go do ayahuasca when he was feeling better. Since then, he's having some more difficulties. He's really having a rough go, because I want to tell everyone out there to listen to your favorite song about 5 times and look at a poster and think about Adam. Let's put our intention into helping him. He really needs us right now. And I had a great talk with him yesterday, and I told him, it's terminal, but he's, I'm like, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. But I go, let's talk about a little plan. I go, I got a little idea. I truly believe this. I think Oscar became into his life the way he did. Potentially, his next assignment might be working with Oscar, being a guide, let's say. Okay, in my imagination or whatever. That's what we were talking about. And I told him, I go, when you do finally, you're not going anytime soon, but when you do finally go to your next assignment, and this happened yesterday, I go, let's come up with a plan. I had a plan. I go, you know what? You saw that Beatles poster. I go, you know what I think? I think we should make the Beatles, no matter where you go on the astral plane or where I go, the Beatles can be where we meet somehow. Like, okay.
This is ridiculous because in a good way, because I talked to Adam for a while yesterday as well.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Um, and this is so funny because I, and it's one of these things where, having conversations about death is a difficult conversation to have here in the Western world, because we bury our dead, we hide from death, we all fear death, et cetera, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, right? But I was like, we got to come up with a plan. So you and I are both talking to him about coming up with plans, and it was an interesting conversation. But we picked a Beatles song that because I was like, what's a song that I know is you, at some
So you
point
had
in
the
the
same exact
future.
conversation, is what you're telling. You had the same exact idea as I did.
It sounds like it, because I was like, let's pick a song to where and I'm not saying it's not necessarily next week or next month, but whenever this happens, let's pick a song where I know it's you. And he picked "I Am the Walrus" by the Beatles.
Okay.
And I said, well, you picked that song because you clearly know the meaning of that song, or the backstory of that song specifically, right? And he's like, no, not really. And I was like, well, that's Paul saying "I am the walrus," which was a clue to the listeners that he's not really dead, because the Beatles were kind of floating a rumor out that Paul McCartney had died, as like a promotional tool, right? Like this weird avant-garde like promotional tactic. And so people were like, is Paul McCartney dead? And then like, you know, I know, I don't remember all of the specific details, but I know that's a very specific clue. Like, hey, it's, I'm not dead. Uh, and I was like, you picked a song that is the Beatles song saying that you think someone's dead, they're not really dead. And he didn't
Right.
even realize it. Right. Like, I'm like, the fucking double meaning. Like, what are the chances you pick that song and you don't even realize this like crazy backstory and association with it? Right. Which to me is like a very profound message about, you know, moving on from physical form, and how it's not the end. Right.
So, so I was talking about a day in the life, even though I was also talking about the interesting synchronicity of the fact that, and the Claypool Lennon Delirium's another band, and I've been following them a lot since, during this time period here, and a lot of the posters I have are Claypool Lennon Delirium posters. Again, now this Frog Brigade tour, and I said it's awful interesting that a lot of these posters, I've been, doing this kind of stuff with, have a Lennon on there. I go, so I'm talking about John Lennon, Sean Lennon. I said a day in the life, but I said really anything Beatles. Like, oh, one day I'm going to be going to a gas station. The Beatles is going to play at a certain time, and I'm going to know it's you. So guess what happens? I hang up with him. I get in my car. Me and my wife get in my car, and we go to the stop at the gas station by my house to grab beer before we're into the lake. I get out of my truck. I go to open that door of that gas station. Guess what's playing? It was John Lennon Imagine blaring. And it was loud. And I found the speaker, outside. I'm like, I went to the speaker and I took a video of him. Like, dude, I go, it's already working. I go, it's the first song I heard after hanging up with them, literally. I go, it's already working, man. And I sent him that video or whatever. And it was just, I don't know. I thought it was cool. It just blew my mind that, again, we made that distinction to have it be that. And it was the first song I heard. So that was pretty exciting for me yesterday
That
and
is,
getting to
I
talk
mean,
to him and everything.
it's wild. And, Adam and I are talking about an idea that we might try to do here very soon. Um, and, it's, it is one of these things where, I mean, all of these characters in our story are, in this particular story are connected, right? And to, I mean, it's almost impossible to talk about one without talking about the other, and then, so on, so on, so on. And when it comes to this idea of poster magic, right? Um, what's striking me is, or what's resonating with me in this moment, and it's this version of what you're doing, or this style of magic, and, reading the cues and the messages and the secrets of the universe. It it really sprouts from something you really loved to begin with, right? And to me, I think this is an important, for some reason I'm feeling like this is an important aspect that, I mean, someone might say, I mean, someone could argue, very easily that, this poster magic could fall under the larger umbrella of chaos magic. And but the point for me here is that you had something that you truly loved, and through that has come this. And I think that's a good lesson for me, and for anyone else who's thinking that they might want to try to tap into the power and the mysteries of the magic of the universe a little bit more. That I think it could be very, very helpful to sprout from a place where you already have an intense love.
So, and also, again, it kind of speaks to, like, my friends like Adam, meeting Jessica, so many people, I have so many amazing new friendships that have sprout kind of from the community around your show and different people I've met there. And I have like some amazing friends that have been helping me. I've been kind of having a hard time for a while here with some health stuff with myself, but really the community, I've met several different people that have been nice enough to, like, they also um have been doing the mentorships or the coach trainings with Abigail, who was Abigail Moss's, was Jessica's mentor. So I kind of, was in a community with them, and I've met some women there that have been helping me, and they're taking the classes, so they've been, like, offering me, like, to do practice sessions with me and stuff like that, because they've been trying to help me with my anxiety, my depression, and at the same time they're trying to practice their craft. So they're like getting ready to kind of put themselves out there more. They'd be great guests on your show as well, because a lot, very interesting. I think up and coming healers, let's say, or established as well, but might be kind of more somebody that'd be interested to be on your show, and guests like me, people like me listen to your show. Okay, I'm going to try that. That's interesting practitioner or whatever. But Maya Lisa King is a very good mindfulness person. Actually, her day job, she's a hospital director. I mean, it's a very legit person, right? But she's been a very good friend of mine, and to me, and listened to all my crazy narratives and everything. But she works with Jessica and Oscar too, so she gets it, right? But we did a little experiment one day where she was doing a mindfulness session with me, and I said, let's do something. I want you to pick something. You pick something. I don't know what. Just pick a subject, say something, and we're gonna see what sinks come of it. Okay. So she goes, dancing skeletons. I go, dancing skeletons. That's what you want, huh? Yep. And I'm here to tell you, I can't even go over how as soon as she said that, the dance on her end and my end, dancing skeletons just kept coming up. Obviously, I'm a deadhead, so it was kind of easy, but she didn't know that. You know what I mean? I go, you kind of set yourself up when you said that one with me. But on her end, she was getting them constantly. So we set a certain synchronicity, and it just, and to this day, they're still happening, actually. Like I can't even begin to, like put my finger on how many of those are, but so that was a very something very interesting also that I wanted to tell you that I've done.
Well, that is interesting. Like, because I think there's the playfulness aspect of synchronicity can be overlooked. I mean, sometimes we can be like, but these are serious messages from the universe, and I have to, take them seriously. Play some droning music while I try to unlock the key to the secret of all being, right? And it's like, well, let's have some, can we have some fun here? You know what I mean? Can we have some playfulness? I think the universe wants us to be playful, and that's a lesson that I've learned from so many people who, are very far along on their like spiritual journeys. And that does seem to be a theme that you hear a bunch, that the universe wants you to play with it, and have a playfulness and like a lightheartedness, right? And like, what is the or I listened to right before we recorded, I listened to that a friend of yours sent you a 3-minute guided meditation before we talked.
Yeah, that's Beth. Beth, she's also did the mentorship under Abby, and her and my Elisa, we would do these like dyads. It's like where you get on a Zoom, and somebody would pose a question, right? And you pose a question, and you each answer it, and you go around, and then you pose that question again, and you just keep on answering, and you keep going around, and like this magic stuff kept happening between us three because it was like we are the only ones showing up to that like session for a couple times, so it was just us three, and we've really made a tight bond. And like, yeah, like she's been, luckily nice enough to do practice sessions with me as well. And yeah, she was nice enough. That's how nice of friends and how much caring people that I've met through this community, that they've been here to help me with my anxiety and really have helped me a lot. And she's nice enough to send that to me today, which was a beautiful little meditation that she sent right before we did this.
Yeah, I mean, I
Did
was all
you listen to it?
scatterbrained. Yeah, I listened to it right before we clicked on, because I was I was running around, and like I had to like I totally forgot that I had to like completely set up this, because me and my buddy split this space. So I had to
Okay.
transform it into the watering hole, and which takes, and I was for I've been doing this thing where I've been eating out apple pie a la mode late at night, and it's like
I've been there.
I don't need NyQuil if I have apple pie a la mode. I mean,
Right.
it still take me a while to fall asleep, but once I'm down, I'm just like, boom, I just got pie and cream in the belly, and I'm just down for the count after that. But um, what was the dessert that we ate at your place? What was
Oh,
it?
I made you a Boston cooler, which is like a milkshake, but it's made with
Oh
the
yeah.
very strong Michigan um, ginger ale called Verner's, which is basically a Michigan cure-all. It's basically
Mhm.
like penicillin around here. If you get sick, in Michigan, they're going to give you Verner's because it helps you. But
Yeah.
yeah, vanilla ice cream mixed with Verner's, like a ton of vanilla ice cream mixed with the Verner's, and it's called a Boston cooler, even though it's a Detroit thing. But it is called a
Yeah, yeah.
Boston cooler.
Yeah, we used to have Verner's in Ohio as well when I was a kid. It was the thing. It was like, oh, you're not feeling well or anything like that. It's like, have some ginger ale.
Oh yeah,
Uh
yeah, and that
yeah.
stuff's extra strong too. That's got the real medicine in it.
Yeah, I need to get me some burners. Um, okay, I'm gonna get back on track now. I'm thinking about ice cream. Uh so well, you were talking about all this stuff that was hot off the presses. I mean, we've got like really um really interesting at the very least syncs with whether it's the Mount Shasta, the continuation of the bridge investigation and exploration, I guess, more so than an investigation. And it does occur to me that, and it has occurred to me on multiple occasions, that whatever it is that we're communicating with, at the very least, is probably closely related to Oscar. And there's there's been a couple times in maybe it was communication with Adam that I was having, via text or whatever in the last week or so, where I'm just like, man, like Oscar is like standing right here. You know what I mean? Like like the presence is felt, or some presence is felt that I'm identifying as Oscar, right? And it's you know to what end? Again, that's that question that I don't think necessarily needs to be answered or will be answered in the moment. But I'm curious. Did we cover all the things that you had queued up?
Oh yeah, that was just literally hot off
Okay,
the press
okay,
this week stuff. Yeah,
okay.
that
I
was
just
it,
wanted to make
man.
sure. I
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
make
no,
sure.
we're good. Yep.
Um, because for me, it's like it's a very interesting journey that you've been on, and I know you talk about your Joker notes and all that kind of stuff, but this is how you're processing it, right? And these are like, and it's not like you're just trying to process like how to have a keto diet now, or something like that, right? You're like you're trying to figure out how to process essentially the mysteries of the universe. How do you distill that? Does that seem fair?
And I'm always getting these memos, and yes, I'm trying to use discernment, and ultimately, a lot of days, I'm just trying to be a normal dude. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's
you
the
know,
thing,
like
right?
I just wanted to work on Friday and leave. I didn't need to be like, immersed within this poster, literally, and have 25 vultures mean mugging me. Like that happened to be cool for the, I think it's a lot of messages for what your scenario and everything, but I could have did without that. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's beautiful and I love it, but I'm not always searching for it. You know what I mean? Like it's just continually happening. And I have so many different stories and so many. I was looking back at my camera roll, and there's so many other stories that would take a whole podcast to tell you. I was glad to actually have something kind of new and different, like that just happened and related to kind of stuff you had going on. But I mean, I had all these other stories that that are very poster magic like and very shamanistic as far as the things that occurred. As soon as I started working with Jessica in September of 2020, and then if you just look at my phone roll, just the stuff that happened directly after that is just so wild. And to me, Oscar, like I did a guide connect even with her back then, and to me it was Oscar that was connected as my guide. And then also the whole thing where the books were given to me that are literally a library of books from this woman who was basically like a Jessica type, like a healer, a tarot reader, a mystic. I don't know, like, I can't really get that much information out of my mother-in-law and my wife about her, but like when my mother-in-law met this Marilyn Jean Enners, she was doing a reading for a prominent a politician at the time, and um that's when she like became her assistant, and like and her friend, and like my wife used to go as a kid to her house and look at all these books. So when she was getting sick, she had my wife pick out all these different books that she wanted to inherit. When she passed away, she was going to get them. So right after I was working with Jessica, they suddenly decided one day randomly to give me these books, and I look at her book in particular, and it's called Keys to Self-Realization. And I open it up, and it's basically the guidebook of like all the stuff that Jessica had been doing with me, like the chakras and the tarot and the meditations and everything. And I didn't know anything about that stuff before until I mean, I was not into this stuff. And I opened the book, and it's all about that. So, and all the things that have occurred since then. So I feel like she's definitely on board as a guide. And I think that's kind of like the reason why I seem to have a great affinity with these, for better lack of a better term, witches or healers, or it doesn't have to be females. It just happens to be. I seem to have these great, relationships with these happen to be females, and I feel like it's something to do with her. Again, all the books that she had, it's all about all this stuff. And I do have a wild, wild story that if I, another time I could tell you, hopefully, about like a past life regression session I had with Jessica and what was revealed with that. And It's
Well,
just
let's
different stuff.
I want to circle back to something.
Okay.
And I want to circle back to something and I have a question about something.
Okay.
Um because I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. We'll talk about that in a minute, but um I want to circle back to making specified space for synchronicity. When you talk about doing that, can you explain to me, like practically, what does that mean?
So actually, this is part of the story I didn't tell you. This is new stuff. The morning that I got in my car and I heard you talk about, reference me on your show, which made me, very stoked, and it was very synchronistic, very cool or whatever. Um, Previous to that, I had already, and actually these were songs that we sing a lot of karaoke over here, and I had some friends over, we sang some karaoke, and I had picked, so actually, uh, Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, we were singing songs and it just came up as a suggested song. And our friend, who's a really good singer, had never sang that song karaoke. And we're like, put it on, dude. It just popped, like the universe popped it up and he put it on. And he just did a phenomenal job of singing this Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer, right? I mean, it's just amazing. So I then I wanted, and I told you, I sent these to you even. I said, I want Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer. I put it out there. I go, Phil Collins, Don't You Lose My Number, Genesis, Land of Confusion, and I put these songs out there. Oh, and Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son, which is actually the whole. There's a whole narrative of that with the passion like progression thing I was telling you about. But so I did do that before this happened. I put those out there as things of syncs that I wanted to see, or just potentially like, okay, I'm going to put these out here, and I wanted you to go to like Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee and have Carry On My Wayward Son playing or whatever. I'm waiting to hear back reports still, but I didn't have to wait very long because I heard you talk about me. Then I went to work, and a guy has a radio on his desk, and it was every time I had a moment where I could hear something, and it was emotionally something going on, or I've been struggling with things, and like that day after I heard you talk to my name, it was boom. I heard the radio. It was Carry On Wayward Son. Later, I heard it
Uh,
again for a second, during like a certain time in my mind where it was like it was fucking Sledgehammer. Like, all right, I guess I'm not gonna give up on life this moment. And then again later, it was Don't You Lose My Number or whatever. So it was like the only songs I heard you talk about me in your podcast, and those songs that I already established to be little syncs. So that's how it doesn't take long. You know what I mean? It kind of works like that. So that's the latest example of one to where that whole day my mind was so blown, that then those songs were hitting like they were.
okay, well, let's do this. I want to I want to set a sync.
And for the
Uh
listeners I want the listeners to participate too.
Hold on
And
a
if
second. Hold on one second. I just got a text message from Adam. Uh
perfect.
oh, okay. Um I don't think I don't think he'd mind me reading just giving the gist of it.
No,
Uh
he'll like it. It'll be fine.
I'll just read the ones that, hey, they have me on some good drugs. But but I'm able to stay pretty lucid. Okay. Okay, back to the now just for the record, like this is what, May 20, what is this, May
Ninth.
20, or yeah, May 29, 529 23 of 2023. Yeah, I want to set a sync for us and for listeners. And I'm trying to figure out if we want to do it like after they hear this, or if, because this is probably not going to come out until at the end of June at the earliest, because I've actually done a pretty good job of banking a bunch of interviews recently, but
Okay.
trying to get ahead before I hit the road for the whole summer. So let's do a thing where uh leading up to listening to this, we're going to pick the song. So it's almost kind of like retro. It almost will feel retroactive. Does that make sense? So,
Right.
so let's either pick a song or something that we're going to set as a sync. So when people are listening to this, they're going to be like, holy I have heard this song so much in the last few days before hearing this, or I've seen this so much right before I'm hearing this, and now they're talking about it. And because people will listen to this at different times, right? So
Oh, right, right.
it doesn't have to be a thing that is like a national broadcast of something. You know, it's just a very individual. This is a very individual thing. So I want you to pick um what you think it might be.
Well, I mean, I've kind of been working with the Phil Collins slash Genesis bangers. I that's kind of been my trip, and it was like out of all the songs, I had a playlist that actually I made, and I can actually go look on it. But to me, there was a significance with the "Don't You Lose My Number," Billy, Billy, don't you lose my number.
Mhm.
To me, it's you guys talking on the gateway. You know what I mean? It's like you communicating with this entity, this alien, right? And then I was getting that also Blondie Call Me. Remember I
Okay.
had that I was on that trip with the slowed down version of with the Alvin and the Chipmunks version of Call Me.
Yeah.
Um the Alvin and the Chipmunks on 16th speed. Somebody took a album of the Chipmunks and they slowed it down to 16th speed. And when you do that, the voices actually sound like normal human beings, but the music is all slowed down and crazy. So it sounds like the most intense, like industrial metal album ever. Where this, the guy took the Chipmunks and slowed it down like that. So when that Call Me came up, and then I was, my wife, sent me an article about that, and then I was listening to it, and then we went into over to where our record collection is, which keeps on producing things I don't know that we even have. She pulls that album out, like, like this album of the Chipmunk does, new wave songs or whatever, punk, and we had it. I'm like, what in the hell? How do we have this? I have no idea how we have this. But that Call Me was also kind of like, they're telling you,
You know what
Oscar
it's
said for
making
you
me
to
think
call
of?
them.
That's making me think of that Paul Simon song that has got Chevy Chase in the video, Call Me Al.
Oh, call me Al.
What's the name of that song?
Don't you
Is it
call me Al? Is it Call Me Al? Might be Call Me Al. Is it the actual title? I forget. But it is. It's Paul Simon.
yeah, it's a Paul Simon God, I mean, because I just remember that video.
Oh yeah, with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, just
I
being
think it's Call Me Al, dude.
pretty ridiculous. So yeah, then we're gonna throw that one in there too.
You can call me Al.
You can call me out.
It is. You can call me Al. And then
Uh,
the playlist.
so let's throw You Can Call Me Al. Uh,
Sledgehammer, Invisible Touch by Genesis.
I don't know
Don't
if
You
I
Lose My
do. I know
Number,
that
Phil
song.
Collins.
I'm trying to think if I know Invisible Touch. I'd know it if I heard it.
Invisible Touches.
Oh, oh.
You'll totally know it. Invisible Touches.
Okay, that's what that's called. I
Invisible Touch.
I see. I never learned the names of some of my favorite songs. I don't know the names of. Some of the lyrics of songs I've been listening to for 30 years, I don't know until like I tap show lyrics on like the phone when I'm listening to it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what that's been the whole time. Because I was doing that on some Doors songs the other night because I was listening to the Spanish Caravan, and then some other songs came up, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know the lyric. I've been singing the wrong words to this for 35 years. The like I was singing on that one Doors song, I was singing Hector a la mode when it's God, what it's one of their obviously their hit songs.
Their hits.
Anyway, we can talk about that later. But I was singing Hector a la mode for some reason when it was uh oh God, which fucking song is that?
I'm trying to
Uh
think again. Yeah,
Hector
you know.
Alamode,
Oh,
Riders
Hector,
on the
Riders on the
Storm.
Storm.
So I was singing Hector Alamode
Oh, there's so many examples of
when
that.
when
Like
it's like, but I don't even remember what the real lyrics are. But it's not Hector Alamode.
right.
That's for sure. A
No.
guy named Hector with a scoop of ice cream on him. But okay, so we've set some syncs here. So just to recap, it's going to be You Can Call Me Al, Invisible Touches by
Genesis.
Genesis, and let's do those two. Let's just
Okay.
keep it to two,
Invisible Touch, Genesis.
and You Can Call
Paul
Me Al.
Simon, you can call me Al.
So we each picked one. Um, and I'm going to see what happens with those. You see what happens with those. You know, keep me posted, and then for the listeners, maybe they can keep us posted as well. But nonetheless, the okay. Well, oh, question. Let's wrap up on this question.
Okay.
Um, because I think at some point, last time when I saw you last year over at your place and stayed there, I think oh, that's right. I was like, you need to, I need you to start taking notes. I did,
Right. I need
didn't
to
I?
too.
Didn't I? Like, I was like, you need to get a journal, and I was like, like a school teacher. Like, okay, now Mario, I need you to do this. Okay, but but this is my question for you right now.
Okay.
Have you tried making your own poster? It doesn't have to be elaborate. Or have you gone into that phase yet where you've tried to create your own post just by whatever pops in your mind, you draw it. And it doesn't have to be like great. It could be stick figures and shapes, right? I'm curious, have you tried doing that yet? Or is it um you or has it all been the energy coming from the images to you so far? Have you tried
I'm not much of an
reversing the
artist.
flow?
I have a really bad handwriting. Like I'm like really dyslexic, you know. Like I used to like, you know, draw my letters upside down and backwards and all that stuff. So I have a hard time actually writing. So I'm not too much of an artist. Like my best friend, one of my best friends, he draws amazing posters so much to where it's like I'm hoping one day Primus will like, you know, pick up one of his posters or, you know, if he'd submit them at least, maybe they would because they're that good. But that's not something that I've tried yet as far as the artwork. Um, you know, that's an interesting question though. I wish I could, and I wish I you know could play music too. I'm not you know musically inclined or whatever. You know,
Well, you definitely
stuff like
can
that.
draw. You definitely can draw. I mean, now the judgment about whether or not it's good or not is that's a whole nother thing for, like for whatever reason we always are we're judging everything, right? For some ridiculous reason. But um for your purposes, like I don't know if you've ever seen remote viewing drawings, but
So that is okay. Actually, there has been a talent that has manifested since I've worked with Jessica Oscar that I attribute to them, and whatever that happened to my mind ended up being this way, and it was something I've never done before. And it's you know suddenly
oh
I
yes.
have some friends that write hip hop music and perform it and everything, and we were texting one time and they were texting me some lyrics or whatever, and I'm like I responded and I'm like whatever I'm gonna you know try to type stuff all of a sudden I started typing to him, dude. I started freestyle key styling, like this kind of like shit talking Detroit style rap kind of a style. And I was just, it was just flowing out of my mind at such a phenomenal rate that I like almost for a month, I couldn't stop just like typing in rap or kind of like talking in rap. I haven't really performed it much or spoke it out, but that was a thing. So I actually have, you know, written quite a bit of poetry where I've wrote zero poetry before. You know,
Well,
I
we
have quite a
posted some of it at the Patreon, didn't we?
yeah, I wouldn't mind reading that to you actually.
Yeah, because we posted one of
I
them on the
yeah, you put it
Patreon
on
a
there. Oh,
few
you
months
read it
back.
as what's your
Oh,
character?
Trip Coltrane.
Trip Coltrane, dude. That was awesome. So that's something that has manifested. And also I found that it's helped me that has kind of it's almost been easier for me to sometimes in like the in that poem form to kind of describe what I'm feeling with this, you know, whole, you know, spiritual kind of awakening thing that I've been having. It's kind of it's really been a helpful tool. You know, it's just pretty interesting thing that has manifested since you know this stuff has all started. And okay, like for example, I wrote you one here, and I did this really fast. I'm not saying it's good. It's just weird. From one day, I don't write poetry. The next minute, I do, and like suddenly couldn't stop. Like I had to like quit for a while. Like, all right, I got to quit doing this shit, you know, because I was just couldn't stop, you know, doing it in this kind of you know this rhyming thing. So I wrote you a poem for the anniversary. It was I forget what anniversary. It says 8th here, but I don't know if the dates are right. But I'll read it as I have it here because I think I edited it because I didn't send it to you or get it on at a certain time. But it was the anniversary of me and Paranormal U. So I wrote this one day whenever I did. And it was pretty quick. So I'll recite this to you. It was me and Paranormal U anniversary poem. Nothing about January 31st, 2021 is normal. It's the last day of the first month after the worst fucking years that's within 100, one of the worst fucking years that's within 100 years near. But don't shed a tear. Don't drop salty eye secretions into your beer. I know of a podcast that doesn't have a peer, a show with a weird steer towards the esoteric, ghost haunted castles with moats. You better take notes. What you're going to hear might give the most manly Trump lover acute fear and a frown from ear to ear. Bigfoot, witches, psychics, deep woods mystical critters, shapeshifters that can turn themselves into one of their own sisters. We're talking about reality twisters. So pour a glass of eggnog, hold on to your AirPods. If you're searching for answers to supernatural questions, just search your magic tablet. But before you are through, dial up an episode of me and Paranormal U.
That's
I was
right.
pretty happy with that one
Yeah, that's the one that Triv Coltrane read.
that you read. Right.
Yeah, that's great. Um, Mario, I mean, it's always a treat, my friend. This has been fun. Uh, and obviously we'll do it again. And and obviously also I'll be in touch about my Midwestern and my travels when I'm in your region of the world.
Come out,
Uh,
man. Your spot is ready to go.
and
You're more than welcome to hang out with us anytime you're around.
well, I appreciate that. And and just as a reminder, you can go back and you can listen to previous conversations. The first one, I think it's titled Oscar. And then the second one is Mario Creston. And this one will be Mario Creston as well. But yeah, and you know what? Oh my God. Let me look. I brought this up. I'm checking this real quick. This will be no, because there'll be some 30-year bonuses. I wonder if it's gonna work out. This I don't know if this will be the 700th episode or not.
Oh, really? That would be cool. Interesting.
If not, it'll be like 701, 702, 703. It'll be right around there. But wow, 700. Yeah, we're coming up on 700 on the Minecraft. So anyway, dude, I appreciate it. This was great. And obviously we'll be in contact otherwise.
I really appreciate it. And actually, just for one, real quick, I wanted to thank you for another amazing person that I've met and I'm friends with now that you sent me and that you met. And it's Kimberly, the Awakening Mom on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. She's an amazing friend, and her whole narrative circles around cat synchronicities and just all the synchronicities that brought her, her to you, and that whole story is just amazing.
It's
And I
so
actually
funny.
got to
That's
meet her
yeah.
you got her at the apothecary.
Yeah, and I actually was talking with a friend a couple nights ago. And it reminds me that I might need to reach out to her about something. So that's a fun
She'd be a
sync
great
right
guest on
there.
the show too. And I just want to finish my shout out with the Beth that sent us the meditation. She's Wild and Winding on YouTube and wildandwinding.com. Check that out. And then also shout out to my Lisa. She's kind of like a word of mouth, but I think it's somebody of real interest and a great friend. Miley's King at yahoo.com if anyone's interested in with a mindfulness coach. But yeah, these are all Mario approved people to definitely check out. And I'm hoping to see on your show as well, because
Okay.
I like that. I like the paranormal, but I like how you also have different practitioners and, again, people to try and all the different stuff like that. It's just great. Anyway, it's kept me going. It's been a real benefit to my life. So I just want to thank you, and thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure and an honor and a real
Yeah.
great thrill for me.
Well, pleasure's mine, my friend. And I love you, buddy. And
Love
we're
you
gonna
too,
talk
man.
soon. And for everybody listening, I hope to see you or have already seen you on the road at stand-up comedy shows, ryansingercomedy.com/tour. You can find all the dates there. I'm adding more and more dates, and then I mean, I don't know. This summer, I don't know what's going to happen this summer, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty damn exciting. So, well, the shows are going to be fun. I know that. I'm calling it the Whimsy and Woe tour. Like whoa, not like whoa, but like whoa. So Whimsy and Woe. Come see me on the Whimsy and Woe tour. I'm gonna have some good times. Um, and so will you if you come to a live show. Anyway, hope to see you there. If not, I'll just see you here at the watering hole on the astral plane.